Story 1. My wife and I bought our house 3 years ago in a quiet suburban neighborhood. We'd always dreamed of having a small homestead. Nothing crazy, just enough space to grow some vegetables and maybe keep a few chickens for fresh eggs. The previous owners had left behind a decent-sized backyard, and after settling in, we decided to finally make our dream happen. I spent months researching local ordinances, making sure we were completely within our rights. Our city allows up to 6 hens in residential areas as long as you follow specific guidelines about coop placement, distance from property lines, and proper maintenance. I even called the city planning office twice to confirm everything. The woman there was super helpful and sent me all the paperwork. So last spring, I built a beautiful chicken coop in the back corner of our yard, well within the required 15 feet from any property line. I'm pretty handy with tools, so I made sure it was sturdy, well ventilated, and painted to match our house. My wife picked out 4 lovely hens from a local farm, and we were thrilled to finally have our little slice of country life. The chickens were perfect. They laid eggs regularly, kept our bug population down, and honestly, they were quieter than most dogs in the neighborhood. We made sure to clean the coop regularly and never had any smell issues. Our other neighbors thought they were charming, and a few even asked for advice about starting their own coops. Everything was peaceful until about 2 months ago, when our next-door neighbor decided she had a problem with our setup. Let me tell you about this neighbor. She's the type of person who measures your grass height with a ruler and calls the homeowners association if your mailbox is slightly crooked. She moved in about a year after us and immediately started complaining about everything. The previous neighbor, there was an elderly man who kept to himself, but this woman seemed to make neighborhood drama her full-time job. The trouble started on a Tuesday morning. I was getting ready for work when I heard aggressive knocking on our front door. I opened it to find her standing there with her arms crossed, looking absolutely furious. "Karen, your chickens are being too aggressive with their clucking. They're disturbing my peace and quiet." Me, I'm sorry, what? Aggressive clucking. "Karen, don't play dumb with me. They're making noise all morning, and I can't enjoy my backyard because of those violent birds." I honestly thought she was joking at first. Our chickens made normal chicken sounds, nothing excessive. They were actually quieter than the dogs 3 houses down who barked at everything. Me, the chickens make normal sounds during the day. They're well within the city's noise ordinances. "Karen, I don't care about ordinances, they need to go. This is a residential neighborhood, not a farm." Me, we checked all the local laws before getting them. Everything we're doing is completely legal. "Karen, legal doesn't mean right. You're ruining the property values and making this neighborhood look trashy." She stormed off, but I could tell this wasn't over. Sure enough, 2 days later, she was back with a clipboard and what looked like a petition. "Karen, I've been talking to other neighbors, and we all agree those chickens have got to go." Me, really, because the neighbor on the other side asked me for advice about getting chickens herself. "Karen, well, I'm calling the city about this. You can't just do whatever you want." Me, feel free to call them. Like I said, we followed all the rules. True to her word, she called the city. A few days later, I got a call from the code enforcement office saying they'd received a complaint and needed to schedule an inspection. I wasn't worried since I knew we were completely compliant, but it was still annoying to have to take time off work for this nonsense. The inspector was a nice guy who seemed genuinely puzzled by the complaint. He measured distances, checked our coop construction, and even observed the chickens for a while. "Inspector, I have to say, this is one of the most well-built and properly maintained chicken coops I've seen. Everything is exactly where it should be." Me, we did a lot of research before building it. "Inspector, it shows. The complainant mentioned aggressive clucking, but these birds seem perfectly normal to me. Honestly, they're quieter than most dogs." He finished his inspection and told me he'd be filing a report clearing us of any violations. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was wrong. The next week, she was back again, this time even more upset. "Karen, the inspector was clearly biased. I'm calling the city council and the mayor's office. This is harassment. Me, look, I'm sorry you don't like the chickens, but they're legal and they're staying. Karen, we'll see about that. I know people in this city government. What happened next was the best part of this whole ordeal. Apparently, when she called the city council to complain about the inspector's decision, she got a bit too detailed about her grievances. She mentioned that the chickens were disrupting her evening relaxation time by her backyard fire pit. Here's the thing about fire pits in our city, they're heavily regulated. You need permits, proper distances from structures, and specific safety features. Most people don't realize this and just buy those portable fire bowls from the store, thinking they're fine for backyard use. The council member she spoke with made a note about the fire pit and passed it along to the code enforcement office. Guess who got a surprise inspection a few days later? I was in my backyard feeding the chickens when I saw the inspector's truck pull up to her house. I couldn't help but watch from my kitchen window as he spent about an hour in her backyard, taking measurements and photos. Later that evening, she came storming over to my house, absolutely livid. Karen, this is all your fault. The city is making me tear down my fire pit. Me, I'm sorry to hear that. What's wrong with it? Karen, there's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly fine. But apparently it's too close to the fence and doesn't have proper clearance from the house. Me, did you get the proper permits when you installed it? Karen, I don't need permits for my own backyard. This is America. Me, actually, fire pits over a certain size require permits and safety inspections in this city. Karen, how would you know that? Me, because I looked into getting one before we got the chickens. The permit fees and requirements were pretty extensive. She stood there sputtering for a moment, clearly realizing that her complaint about our legal chickens had led to the discovery of her illegal fire pit. Karen, you probably called them and told them about my fire pit. Me, I didn't call anyone. You're the one who mentioned it to the city council. Karen, this isn't over. I'm going to fight this. But it was over. The city gave her 30 days to either bring the fire pit up to code with proper permits and modifications, or remove it entirely. The cost of doing it legally would have been over $3,000 because she'd need to move it farther from both the fence and her house, plus install proper safety features. She chose to have it removed, but not before trying one last desperate move. She called animal control claiming our chickens were aggressive and dangerous to neighborhood children. The animal control officer came out, spent about 5 minutes watching our docile hens peck at the ground, and left with a chuckle. The inspector later told me that she'd also tried to file a complaint about our vegetable garden, claiming we were running an illegal farm operation. That complaint was dismissed without even requiring an inspection. The final cherry on top came a few weeks later when I was getting my mail at the same time as the neighbor on the other side of her house. He mentioned that she'd been complaining to him about our chickens for months. Neighbor, she kept telling me you were violating city codes and ruining the neighborhood. I finally got tired of listening to her and looked up the chicken ordinances myself. Turns out you did everything exactly right. Me, yeah, we made sure to follow all the rules. Neighbor, that's what I figured. But when I mentioned to her that I was thinking about getting chickens too, she completely lost it. Started yelling about how the whole neighborhood was going to turn into a farm. Me, you're thinking about getting chickens. Neighbor, my wife's been wanting them for years. After seeing how well yours are doing, we decided to go for it. Actually, would you mind if I asked you some questions about coop building? So now there are going to be 2 chicken coops in the neighborhood, both completely legal and properly maintained. Our entitled neighbor has been much quieter lately, though I occasionally catch her glaring at our chickens through her window. The best part is that our chickens are thriving. They're healthy, happy, and still laying beautiful eggs. We've started giving extras to the neighbors who've been supportive, and it's actually brought our little community closer together. Sometimes I wonder if she realizes that her aggressive complaints about our perfectly legal chickens led directly to losing her beloved fire pit and paying a hefty fine. But honestly, I don't really care. We're just enjoying our peaceful backyard and our wonderful hens. Story 2. I've been involved in my daughter's school activities for 6 years now. As a single mom working 2 jobs, I don't have much time, but I always make sure to volunteer for the annual school play. It's one of the few things that brings me and my daughter closer together. She's been acting since she was 8, and while she's not the most naturally gifted kid, she works incredibly hard and has improved so much over the years. This year's play was going to be Alice in Wonderland, and my daughter had been practicing for the role of Alice for months. She knew every line, every gesture, every song. The auditions were held in September, and she nailed it. Even the drama teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, told me privately that my daughter had the best audition she'd seen in years. 2 weeks later, Mrs. Rodriguez posted the cast list. My daughter was listed as the Mad Hatter. Not Alice. Alice was going to be played by Karen's daughter, who had barely even shown up to auditions and forgot half her lines when she did. I was confused and honestly pretty upset. My daughter was devastated. She'd worked so hard, and everyone expected her to get the lead role. But what made it worse was that Karen's daughter didn't even seem to want it. She was more interested in soccer and had complained multiple times about having to do the play at all. Karen is one of those parents who thinks her kid deserves everything handed to them. She drives a huge SUV with stickers bragging about her daughter's achievements, shows up to every school event in designer clothes, and treats the teachers like they're her personal servants. I've always tried to stay out of her way, but this felt wrong. The next day, I decided to talk to Mrs. Rodriguez about it. I found her in the drama room during lunch, looking stressed and avoiding eye contact. Hi, Mrs. Rodriguez. I wanted to ask about the casting decisions. Mrs. Rodriguez. Oh, hi. Yes, well, the decisions have been made. Your daughter will make an excellent Mad Hatter. I'm not questioning your judgment, but my daughter really had her heart set on Alice. She's been preparing for months. Mrs. Rodriguez, I understand, but sometimes we have to make difficult choices. Karen's daughter showed additional qualities that made her right for the role. Something in her tone made me suspicious. Mrs. Rodriguez had been teaching drama for 15 years and had never made such an obviously poor casting choice before. Karen's daughter was a decent kid, but she had no stage presence and could barely project her voice past the first row. Over the next few weeks, I started paying closer attention. Karen was suddenly very chummy with Mrs. Rodriguez, bringing her coffee every morning and chatting with her after every rehearsal. She'd also been posting on social media about some new spa treatments she'd been getting, which seemed odd since she'd always bragged about being too busy for that kind of thing. The real break came when I was helping with costumes and overheard Karen talking to another parent in the hallway. Karen, well, I just knew my daughter was perfect for Alice. Sometimes you have to help teachers see what's right in front of them. Other parent, what do you mean? Karen, oh, just that Mrs. Rodriguez and I have developed a wonderful relationship. I've been helping her discover some amazing wellness opportunities. She's been so stressed lately, and I just happen to know about this fantastic spa that gives teacher discounts. My stomach dropped. I stayed behind the costume rack and kept listening. Karen, between you and me, I think teachers don't get nearly enough appreciation. So when I heard about these spa packages, I just had to share them with her. It's amazing how much more relaxed she's been since she started using them. The other parent looked uncomfortable and changed the subject, but I had heard enough. Karen had bribed Mrs. Rodriguez with spa treatments to get her daughter the lead role. I didn't know what to do with this information at first. I couldn't just accuse a teacher of accepting bribes without proof. But then I remembered that the Parent-Teacher Association meeting was coming up the following week, and the spring play was one of the agenda items. I spent the weekend gathering evidence. I looked up the spa Karen had mentioned and found out their packages cost hundreds of dollars. I also talked to other parents who had kids audition for Alice and learned that several of them had been just as confused by the casting choice as I was. The Parent-Teacher Association meeting was held in the school cafeteria on a Tuesday evening. About 30 parents showed up, along with Mrs. Rodriguez and the principal, Mr. Thompson. Karen was there too, sitting in the front row looking smug. When they got to the agenda item about the spring play, Karen immediately stood up. "Karen, I just want to say how thrilled we all are with this year's production. Mrs. Rodriguez has made such excellent casting choices, and I know the children are going to put on a wonderful show." Mr. Thompson, thank you. Are there any questions or concerns about the play? I raised my hand. My heart was pounding, but I knew I had to speak up. I have some concerns about the casting process. Karen turned around and glared at me. Karen, I think we should support our children and teachers instead of questioning their professional judgment. I'm not questioning professional judgment. I'm questioning whether the process was fair and transparent. Mr. Thompson, what specifically are you concerned about? I have reason to believe that external factors may have influenced the casting decisions. Mrs. Rodriguez looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. Karen, that's a very serious accusation. I hope you have evidence to back up whatever you're implying. Actually, I do. I overheard a conversation where a parent admitted to providing expensive spa treatments to the drama teacher in connection with the casting process. The room went completely silent. Karen's face turned red. Karen, that's completely taken out of context. I was just being nice to an overworked teacher. Another parent, Mrs. Williams, raised her hand. Mrs. Williams, I heard the same conversation. It was pretty clear that the spa treatments were connected to the casting decision. Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Rodriguez, do you have anything to say about this? Mrs. Rodriguez looked like she was about to cry. Mrs. Rodriguez, I made a mistake. I was going through a difficult time personally, and I let my judgment get clouded. I'm sorry. Karen, this is ridiculous. You're all ganging up on me for being generous. Being generous would be giving spa treatments with no strings attached. What you did was bribery. Mr. Thompson, I think we need to take a recess and discuss this privately with the relevant parties. The meeting broke up, but word spread quickly. By the next day, the whole school was talking about it. Karen tried to do damage control, posting on social media about how she was being persecuted for kindness, but nobody was buying it. 3 days later, Mr. Thompson called me with an update. Mr. Thompson, we've completed our investigation. Mrs. Rodriguez has admitted to accepting inappropriate gifts that influenced her casting decisions. She's been suspended pending a full review. What about the play? Mr. Thompson, we're going to recast the roles based on the original auditions. Your daughter will be playing Alice, as she should have been from the beginning. And Karen? Mr. Thompson, she's been banned from participating in any future school productions in any capacity. When I told my daughter the news, she was thrilled, but also a little worried about Karen's daughter. My daughter, is she okay about losing the role? Honestly, I think she's relieved. She never really wanted to do it anyway. The play ended up being a huge success. My daughter was incredible as Alice, and Karen's daughter actually seemed much happier in the smaller role she was reassigned to. Mrs. Rodriguez was eventually allowed to return to teaching, but she had to go through additional training about professional boundaries. Karen, meanwhile, became a social pariah among the other parents. She eventually transferred her daughter to another school, claiming it was for better opportunities, but everyone knew the real reason. The whole experience taught me that sometimes you have to stand up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. My daughter learned that hard work and talent matter more than having connections or parents who are willing to cheat the system. Story 3. I work as a gate agent at one of the busiest airports in the country. After 5 years on the job, I thought I'd seen everything. Drunk passengers, people trying to bring exotic animals as emotional support, and travelers who somehow think the laws of physics don't apply to their oversized luggage. But nothing prepared me for what happened last Tuesday during the evening rush. I'd been working double shifts all week because we were short-staffed. My colleague had called in sick, and with 3 flights departing within an hour, I was already feeling the pressure. The 7:30 p.m. flight to Miami was boarding, and passengers were lined up at gate B12. Everything was going smoothly until she appeared. She was a woman in her 40s, wearing designer everything and dragging behind her what could only be described as a small suitcase disguised as a handbag. The thing was enormous, easily twice the size of our carry-on limit, and covered in what looked like genuine crocodile leather with gold hardware that caught the fluorescent lights. I was scanning boarding passes when she approached my desk, completely bypassing the line of waiting passengers. "Karen, excuse me, I need to board immediately. I have a very important meeting in Miami." "Me, of course, ma'am. May I see your boarding pass?" She handed it over with a flourish, like she was presenting me with a royal decree. "Economy class, middle seat." I scanned it without issue, but then I noticed the massive bag. "Me, I'm sorry, but that bag is too large for carry-on. You'll need to check it." "Karen, absolutely not. This bag is worth more than your monthly salary. It's a limited edition piece, and I will not have airport baggage handlers touching it." "Me, I understand your concern, ma'am, but the bag exceeds our size restrictions. I'd be happy to help you check it with special handling if you'd like." "Karen, you clearly don't understand. This bag is too beautiful to check. It's a work of art. I'm taking it on the plane with me." Behind her, other passengers were getting restless. A businessman checked his watch loudly. A family with small children looked exhausted. I could feel the tension building. "Me, ma'am, I'm sorry, but airline regulations are very clear about carry-on sizes. This is for everyone's safety and comfort." "Karen, safety. The only thing that's unsafe is putting my bag in the cargo hold where it could be damaged or stolen. I'm not checking it, and that's final." She turned and walked toward the boarding gate, dragging her massive bag behind her. I quickly called for my supervisor while trying to maintain order with the other passengers. "Me, ma'am, please return to the desk. We need to resolve this before you can board." "Karen, there's nothing to resolve. I'm getting on that plane with my bag." By now, my supervisor had arrived. He was a patient man who'd been in the airline industry for over 20 years, but even he looked taken aback by the size of her bag. "Supervisor, ma'am, I'm the gate supervisor. I understand you have concerns about checking your bag, but I'm afraid it simply won't fit in the overhead compartments. We have strict size restrictions for a reason." "Karen, I don't care about your restrictions. This bag is coming with me. Do you have any idea what this cost? It's more valuable than anything in your entire house." "Supervisor, I'm sure it's a lovely bag, but the policy applies to everyone. We can provide special handling services for valuable items." "Karen, special handling? You mean throwing it around with all the other luggage? I think not." The boarding line had come to a complete stop. Passengers were craning their necks to see what was happening. Some were taking out their phones. I could see the frustration building on everyone's faces. "Me, ma'am, if you don't check the bag, you won't be able to board the flight. We have other passengers waiting." "Karen, fine. Then I'll just stay right here until you change your minds." And that's exactly what she did. She positioned herself directly in front of the boarding gate, her massive bag beside her, and refused to move. The businessman who'd been checking his watch earlier was now openly frustrated. "Businessman, are you serious right now? Some of us have actual important meetings to get to." "Karen, my bag is more important than your meeting." The family with children tried to squeeze past her, but there wasn't enough room. The small children were getting cranky, and the parents looked stressed. "Father, could you please move? My kids are tired, and we just want to get to our seats." "Karen, I'm not moving until they guarantee my bag can come with me." My supervisor tried reasoning with her one more time. "Supervisor, ma'am, I can personally ensure your bag is handled with extra care. We have special tags for valuable items." "Karen, your extra care means nothing to me. This bag is irreplaceable." That's when she did something I'll never forget. She lay down on the floor, right there in front of the boarding gate, and started screaming. Not crying or arguing, screaming at the top of her lungs like a toddler having a meltdown. "Karen, I'm not moving until you let me take my bag on the plane." The entire gate area went silent except for her screaming. Other passengers from nearby gates started gathering to watch. Airport security was already on their way. I could see them approaching from across the terminal. "Ma'am, please get up. You're disrupting the entire boarding process." "Karen, I don't care. This bag is too beautiful to check. You're all trying to ruin it." She was kicking her legs while lying on the floor, still screaming. The businessman was recording everything on his phone. The family with children had moved to the far side of the gate to avoid the scene. 2 security officers arrived and assessed the situation quickly. "Security officer, ma'am, you need to get up and move away from the gate immediately." "Karen, I'm not moving. They're trying to destroy my beautiful bag." "Security officer, if you don't comply, we'll have to escort you from the terminal." "Karen, you can't make me leave. I have a ticket." My supervisor had seen enough. He walked over to his computer and started typing. "Supervisor, ma'am, due to your disruptive behavior, you're being denied boarding on this flight. Security will escort you from the gate area." "Karen, what? You can't do that. I have rights." She finally got up from the floor, her designer outfit now wrinkled and dusty. Her face was red from screaming, and her hair was disheveled. "Supervisor, you forfeited your right to board when you disrupted the boarding process and refused to follow federal aviation regulations." "Karen, this is discrimination. You're all jealous of my beautiful bag." The security officers moved to escort her away, but she wasn't done yet. "Karen, when can I get on the next flight?" "Supervisor, you'll need to go to the ticket counter to rebook. There will be a rebooking fee, and since this was due to your behavior, you'll also be charged a handling fee." "Karen, how much?" "Supervisor, the rebooking fee is $200, and the handling fee for disruptive passenger behavior is $500. "Karen, $700. That's outrageous." "Supervisor, those are the standard fees." "Ma'am, the next available flight to Miami isn't until tomorrow evening." "Karen, tomorrow? But my meeting is tonight." "Supervisor, I'm sorry, but that's the earliest we can accommodate you, and only after you pay the fees." As security escorted her away, still dragging her massive bag, she turned back one more time. "Karen, you'll all regret this. My bag is worth more than this entire airline." The moment she was out of sight, the remaining passengers burst into applause. The businessman who'd been recording approached me. "Businessman, that was incredible. I've never seen anything like that in all my years of traveling." "Me, unfortunately, we see more of this than you'd think." The family with children was finally able to board peacefully. As they passed my desk, the mother smiled at me. "Mother, thank you for handling that so professionally. I can't believe she threw a tantrum like that over a bag." The rest of the boarding process went smoothly. As I closed the gate and watched the plane taxi away, I couldn't help but shake my head. In all my years of airline work, I'd never seen someone so convinced that their possessions were more important than everyone else's time, comfort, and safety. The next day, I heard through the grapevine that she had tried to file a complaint with our corporate office, demanding compensation for her trauma and insisting that her bag was indeed too beautiful to check. The complaint was denied, and she was placed on a watch list for future disruptive behavior. Sometimes I wonder if she ever made it to Miami, or if she's still somewhere out there, convinced that the world owes her special treatment because of her beautiful bag. Story 4. I've been working retail for about 3 years now, and let me tell you, I've seen some wild stuff. But nothing prepared me for what happened last Tuesday at the electronics store where I work part-time while finishing my business degree. I started this job after my scholarship got cut in half during my sophomore year. My parents couldn't cover the extra costs, so I had to find work to make ends meet. The store isn't glamorous, but the pay is decent and my manager is pretty understanding about my class schedule. I mainly work evenings and weekends, helping customers with phones, tablets, and accessories. The day started normal enough. I was restocking phone cases when this woman in her 50s walked in. She was dressed in a business suit and had this air about her like she owned the place. I didn't think much of it at first. We get all types of customers. I was behind the counter when she marched up to my coworker who was helping a customer pick out a new phone. Karen, excuse me, what's your name? My coworker. I'm sorry, I'm helping this customer right now. Can you wait a moment? Karen, I asked for your name. I'm the regional manager, and I'm doing a surprise inspection. My coworker looked confused. I'd never seen this woman before in my life, and I'd been working here for over a year. Our actual regional manager was a guy in his 30s who visited maybe once every few months. My coworker, I'm sorry, I don't recognize you. Could you show me some identification? Karen, are you questioning my authority? What's your employee number? The customer my coworker was helping started looking uncomfortable. I could see this was going south fast. My coworker, look, I really need to finish helping this customer. If you're really management, you can wait or speak to our store manager. That's when Karen really lost it. Karen, that's it, you're fired. Pack up your things and get out. My coworker, what? You can't fire me. I don't even know who you are. Karen, security. I need this insubordinate employee removed immediately. The customer she'd been helping quietly slipped away. I felt bad for my coworker who was just standing there looking shocked. This woman was completely unhinged. Karen turned to me next. Karen, you, come over here right now. Me, I'm sorry, but I'm going to need to see some company identification before I follow any orders. Karen, I don't have time for this nonsense. I'm conducting an inspection and everyone is failing. The customer service here is absolutely terrible. She started marching around the store like she owned it, pointing at displays and shaking her head dramatically. Karen, this is all wrong. Who organized these phone cases? Fire whoever did this. Me, ma'am. I organized those cases this morning according to company policy. Karen, well, you're fired too. Everyone here is incompetent. At this point, a few customers had stopped to watch this spectacle. I was getting embarrassed and frustrated. Where was my actual manager when I needed him? Karen walked over to our computer terminal and started trying to access it. Karen, what's the password for this system? I need to document all these violations. Me, I can't give you system passwords. That's against company policy. Karen, I am company policy. I'm the regional manager. She kept trying random passwords, getting more frustrated each time the system rejected her attempts. Then she started yelling at customers. Karen, you there, rate your experience with these employees. I bet it's terrible. One customer, actually, they've been very helpful. Karen, no, they haven't. They're all fired. This whole store is a disaster. That's when I heard a familiar voice behind her. Manager, excuse me, what exactly is going on here? I turned around and saw my actual manager standing there with his phone out, clearly recording everything. He had this look on his face like he was trying not to laugh. Karen spun around, not missing a beat. Karen, oh good, you must be the store manager. I'm the regional manager conducting a surprise inspection. These employees are all fired for insubordination. Manager, really? That's interesting because I just got off the phone with our actual regional manager. He's currently in a meeting 3 states away. Karen's face went white. Manager, I've been standing here for the past 5 minutes recording this entire performance. Would you like to explain why you're impersonating company management? Karen, I was just trying to help improve customer service. Manager, by terrorizing my employees and customers? I don't think so. Karen, look, I used to work in retail management years ago. I was just trying to give some feedback. Manager, ma'am, what you've done is illegal. You've impersonated a company official, attempted to access our computer systems, and created a hostile environment for customers and staff. Karen started backing toward the door. Karen, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Manager, oh, there's no misunderstanding. I'm calling mall security and filing a report with corporate. You're banned from this store and all locations in our chain. Karen, you can't do that. I'm a customer. Manager, not anymore, you're not. Mall security showed up about 2 minutes later. I watched through the window as they escorted Karen out of the building. She was still arguing with them as they walked her to the parking lot. My manager showed us the video he'd recorded. It was even more ridiculous watching it back. Karen had been so convinced she was fooling everyone, but she just looked completely insane. The best part came about an hour later when my manager got a call from corporate. Apparently, Karen had tried to file a complaint about the store, claiming she was the regional manager and that we'd all been rude to her. When corporate pulled up the security footage from the store cameras and saw my manager's video, they immediately flagged her information in the system. Turns out this wasn't her first time pulling this stunt. She'd done the same thing at 2 other stores in the chain over the past month. Corporate was already building a case against her. My coworker and I got the rest of the day off with pay after the incident. My manager said we'd handled it perfectly by not giving her any actual information or access to anything important. The whole thing was so bizarre. I still can't believe someone would think they could just walk into a store and start firing people. But I guess that's entitled people for you. They really think the world revolves around them.